All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a Super Bowl edition of the Nesson.com, MassLab.com Hangout. I'm your host, Ricky Doyle, joined now from the great state of Arizona is Nesson.com Patriots beat writer Doug Kyed and MassLab.com Patriots beat writer Kevin Duffy. We're going to talk some shop for the next 25 minutes or so on a whole bunch of Super Bowl related topics. If we can put this Deflategate thing behind us for a little bit, I mean, we'll probably start with that. But a lot of other intriguing storylines. But first of all, how is the weather out there, guys? Because I'll tell you what, I've been up to my neck in snow the last 24, 48 hours, and it completely blows.
I'm looking outside right now, and I don't see any snow, so I think we're doing a little bit better than you guys are.
It must be nice. It must be nice.
70-something outside. It's very, very pleasant. Yeah.
I got sunburned yesterday, so that kind of sucked. But yeah, I feel your pain.
I got my mittens. I got my mittens all ready to go. So
you ready to go for this?
But I might grab them and roll up the sleeves for this hangout.
We've got some ice there.
Yeah. It's so hot out.
I know you guys have done a couple of these in the past, and I've done a couple of Red Sox ones, but anybody who's tuning in, I guess how this thing works is that we'll get the conversation going here, and then if anybody wants to chime in, there's an option to do so on the side. You can ask some questions. I'll relay it to these guys. Also, if you want to chime in on Twitter, you can do so using the hashtag SB49Hangout. So first, we'll start off with the softball here. In this whole Deflategate controversy, I'm not gonna iron out the details of it because I think everybody knows by now. But do you see this whole thing having an impact at all, either negatively or positively, on the Patriots going into this Sunday's game against Seattle?
I guess we'll start off. I don't really think so. I think, if anything, it could possibly motivate them. But, I mean, I don't think there's really a distraction that can overcome the Super Bowl just because everything's so distracting right now. It's like they're being surrounded by more media than they've ever seen in their lives. Like, media day you couldn't even walk around without bumping into someone. So I think this is just an add-on to what already would have been a distraction, and it's all part of one huge Super Bowl distraction. And at least they know that those questions are coming, and they're not answering them at this point. Robert Kraft said yesterday that Tom Brady is the only one who really even seems to be acknowledging it, which I thought was kind of interesting for him to say. But, I mean, Brady's been through this before, and for him, I think anything that could be looked at as a distraction or some sort of insult against him, he's probably only going to take it and try to work harder based off of it, if that is possible at this point.
Yeah, and I mostly agree with that. Probably about a week ago, I would have said that there would have been a chance for it to negatively impact them, specifically Brady, just because he did look a little shaken up at his press conference on that Thursday, and it looked like it bothered him. And the guy is not a machine; he's a human. Like if he's affected emotionally by things, and he's thinking about things that could affect how he plays on Super Bowl Sunday. It doesn't necessarily mean it will, but it could. But that was a little while ago. It was almost a week ago, that Thursday press conference, and I just feel like the distance between that and the game, there's a big enough gap where Brady's going to really be able to hone in on the game. And ultimately, I agree with Doug. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. And as he said, for other guys besides Brady, like you're asking like Devin McCourty about it. I mean, most of the guys have nothing to do with it at all. So really, I don't think it's much of a distraction at this point.
Yeah, I find I think it's kind of funny when people say that this is kind of creative and us against the world mentality. I mean, last time I checked, this is still the New England Patriots. I mean, I don't think that coming into the season that they really needed a us against the world mentality to have success. I mean, and plus, as you mentioned, this is the Super Bowl. I mean, if you're not jacked up for this game, what the hell are you playing for? I mean, it just seems like this is something where people are trying to spin it into a positive, I guess, from a Patriots standpoint, when in reality, like you guys said, I don't think it's going to have much of an impact at all. I mean, I don't know, just the whole us against the world mentality when it comes to a couple pounds per square inch in an inanimate object is just kind of silly to me.
Well, those things are interesting to talk about too because, I bet if they win, that you'll hear a lot of talk about how it was us against the world, and a lot of guys will talk out about it, but that doesn't mean that's why they won. You know what I mean? Like it just could be something that they feel like expressing after they win. But yeah, I think we all agree. In terms of being the Seattle Seahawks, it really has very little bearing on what's going to happen. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. The whole us against the world thing, that's all fine and good when the team wins. I'd love to go back and just the history of sports in general and see how many teams that they're like, we got our backs up against the wall and then go in and just get absolutely smoked. You never hear about those ones.
I'd love for your team to win the Super Bowl and just, we didn't really have that much adversity this year. It was pretty,
it was smooth sailing the whole way.
Also, usually when no one believes in a team, there's a reason for it, and they'll probably lose. It's the very few times when nobody believes in us actually turns into a win. But, usually the favorite team wins for a reason.
Okay, well, let's dive into this actual game a little bit. And you guys mentioned the circus that is media day. Obviously, it's just that has just turned into a debacle of epic proportions over the years. But one guy who kind of stole the show for what he didn't say was Marshawn Lynch, and I think this is a pretty widespread assumption that one of the big keys to this game is going to be slowing him down. If you're Seattle, are you coming out and just trying to really jam the football down the Patriots' throats? How do the Patriots go about stopping Marshawn Lynch? Because obviously this guy's a beast.
Well, yeah, I think they do probably try to do that, just try to establish that right away, get the time of possession going, try to get off to an early lead. But for the Patriots, I think that they really need to stay in the base defense as much as they can, stay in a cover one so that they really have a lot of guys near the box. And if they need to, even when the Seahawks have 3 receivers on the field, maybe only go with 4 defensive backs, whether it's one safety, play Devin McCourty back deep and have Kyle Arrington play that third cornerback role, or have Patrick Chung play the slot a little bit. I think that's really going to be the key, is to try to keep 7 guys inside the box and then just kind of dare Russell Wilson to throw the ball as much as he can, because that's not where you beat the Patriots. That's not where they're going to beat them, especially with Revis and Browner and all those guys back there. So I think the Patriots do need to dare them to throw, and the Seahawks probably just need to see what they can do against that base defense and against that Patriots run defense, which has been pretty inconsistent this year. And to see if you can stop Lynch, because it's obviously not easy.
Yeah, I agree with everything Doug said. The games that the Patriots have struggled, we can point to very early in the season, but even against Baltimore, Baltimore had success early because Justin Forsett ran on them. He was averaging about 8.5 yards a carry in the first half. And I'm not sure if the Pats were in their base defense, but they were. You did have a defense in the front of Will Fork, Salinga, and Alan Branch playing there, so they had some size up front. They really couldn't stop Baltimore's push. So whether Seattle's winning the game, whether they're losing.
Looks like we might have lost Ricky.
Ricky is
kind of losing you guys there for a second. That guy yet?
There we go.
Right.
Wow, man. It's all that snow. That's what I'm blaming it on.
I thought you were either being very still or that you had frozen. It took about 5 minutes.
I'm trying to go camouflage. I'm trying to blend in. All right, well, I guess we'll move on because I want to ask you guys what do you make of Russell Wilson? Because you mentioned, Doug, that it might get to a situation where you kind of want to try and make him beat you. I guess what do you guys make of him? Because he obviously played like crap at the beginning of the NFC Championship against Green Bay, and then kind of they rallied. Although there was the defense kind of stepped up and helped them out there. This is a team that obviously Seattle, they're going to win based on their defense and their ability to run the football. So just what have you seen from Russell Wilson going into this game?
I don't think the lack of respect for the Seahawks pass offense really has anything to do with Russell Wilson. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's very accurate. He can pretty much do everything. Not the tallest guy ever, obviously, but it doesn't really seem to stop him that much. I think the issue really there is a lack of offensive weapons in the passing game because Doug Baldwin is basically Julian Edelman out there. Jermaine Kearse is a lesser Brandon LaFell, and they don't have a Rob Gronkowski. So I think that their bigger issue really there on that passing offense is definitely just the weapons and the fact that the Patriots were built really to stop those weapons. So Russell Wilson can be as good of a quarterback as he can, but if Revis is shutting down Doug Baldwin and if Brandon Browner is shutting down Jermaine Kearse, then there's not a lot of other pieces to throw to in there. So I definitely think that Wilson's a great quarterback. I don't think he's ever going to have another game like he did against the Packers, especially that first half when he was just absolutely horrific. But the bigger danger there is, I think, with his legs and just running those boots and getting outside the pocket and taking off for 10 to 15 yards per carry. I think that's a bigger issue just because of the lack of offensive weapons on there.
Yeah, I hate to just say it. I agree with everything you said. There's really.
I can't wait to see the falling out you guys have when you finally disagree. It's gonna escalate.
Wilson, is just extremely out of character, and Doug's right. That's not going to happen in this game. And what he's so excellent at is, he doesn't make mistakes and he extends plays. And the Patriots, it's kind of funny because every week they, when they face a quarterback, they talk about, Matthew Stafford can, really get out of the pocket and extend plays, or Jay Cutler can extend plays. Even someone like Andrew Luck, they haven't seen a guy who can really run as well as Russell Wilson. So that's an element to the game that I don't want to say they're not prepared for, but through this whole season they haven't really seen yet. So that's kind of an unknown. And what Doug said, it's going to be a tall task for you're not asking Russell Wilson to throw for 300 yards in this game if you're Seattle. Revis is going to be on Doug Baldwin, and Doug Baldwin's probably not going to catch more than 3 passes in the game, I would imagine. So Seattle is going to win with Lynch, and if Wilson can, maybe extend some plays and create some opportunities that wouldn't be there if he were just to stay in the pocket.
All right. Well, I think we're having some technical difficulties because I can't see you guys anymore. I can hear you crystal clear, but I can't see you. And you guys are a couple of handsome guys, so. But I mean, we'll push through here. And on the flip side, I want to ask you guys about the New England offense and what they have to do to kind of crack this vaunted Seattle defense. Oh, I think you're coming back now.
Yeah, we're good.
And so in terms of what the Patriots are going to do offensively, we've kind of seen them beat people in a variety of ways. I mean, kind of jamming the football down Indianapolis' throat. The Baltimore game, they pretty much had a pretty good balance, I guess. But how are they going to exploit the Seattle D? I mean, are we going to see a lot of LeGarrette Blount again, or is it a situation where they're going to come out and try and spread the field? I mean, what do you expect, particularly at the opening of the game?
I'll let you handle this one first.
Okay, so we can we might disagree on that.
I hope, I hope he agrees with you.
I think that Seattle, I wouldn't, you would expect them to throw it a lot against Seattle, but I think LeGarrette Blount's going to have a pretty big role in this game just because Carolina rushed for 132 yards against them on 30 carries. Green Bay rushed for 135 yards on 30 carries also. So, those teams really, you're carving out 4.5 yards to carry against the Seattle defense, and you don't really want to challenge the secondary that much. You don't want to throw it, sure, you just don't want to. So I think Blount is going to, I believe the Patriots will come out and really try to run the ball at Seattle. That's my gut.
Yeah, I hate to do this again.
Oh, you're agreeing?
I kind of do agree. I think that you have to start by running the ball and at least see what you have there. The issue really is that LeGarrette Blount usually takes a while to get going.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of thing where he's ripping off 20 or 30 yard runs right away. Maybe he starts off getting 2 yards and 5 yards instead of a 40-yard gain. But you do at least have to see what you can do there because you don't want to lose the time of possession battle. You do want to get off to a hot start, and you do want to be able to pass the ball later. And some of that might have to do with play action or trying to disguise some things. It just got very loud in here.
I hope you guys can hear it.
The red carpet event behind you. Things.
I'll just tell you about it. Maybe we'll do this. I'll try to bring it closer to me, and I'll bring it But I think that you do obviously have to pass the ball at a certain point, and the issue there is that to attack that Seattle cover 3, you have to throw a lot of short passes, and the Seahawks really don't let up many yards after catch, and that's a Brandon LaFell specialty, that's a Julian Edelman specialty, that's a Danny Amendola specialty. So if you're only getting 5 or 6 yards per reception, that might not be very effective, and you might as well just try to run the ball anyway. So it's obviously really difficult to try to move the ball on the Seattle defense just because they do so many things well, and you're not going to fool them, they're not going to fool you. So it's just about doing what you do best and trying to exploit that defense. So I think, yeah, I agree with Kevin. I think you run the ball early, but you definitely have to get a passing attack going at some point, and maybe that is play action, maybe it's short passes, but I don't think that you're going to do much with those deep passes. It's very loud.
It's very loud. I don't know if I have anything else to add. I mean, I do kind of think it's, kind of interesting. I was looking at before Deflategate happened, and I haven't looked at anything about anything since that, but, Sherman's going to stick on his side, and Sherman really hasn't been matched up with kind of smaller, quicker guys who, especially if you bring Edelman in motion, might be a little more difficult. I think, what Green Bay did on one play in particular is they put a tight end out wide, Richard Rodgers, who Sherman wasn't going to cover tight end. Then they put Jordy Nelson in the slot, so they made Sherman move to the slot. So I'm kind of interested if the Patriots can get Edelman on Sherman and see if his quickness can kind of negate Sherman. Sherman's a long guy, he's not in tight spaces like that. I don't know if he can keep up with Edelman's just agility and quickness. So I don't know if they will do that. I just think it kind of would be an interesting matchup. And something that
Well, I don't know what Ben Watanabe said. If he's learned anything from this hangout, it's that you guys disagree on everything. But let me ask you this, because you brought up Richard Sherman. First is, how much of an impact do you think that his injury is going to have on this game, if any? And 2, how do you see him in comparison to Darrelle Revis? Because that's kind of, one of the more intriguing storylines about this game is the fact that both teams have an elite corner. And I know Bill Belichick kind of touched on that today. So, and Doug, I know you had a piece on NESN.com about the kind of the similarities and differences between the two. So it is just, if you guys want to talk a little bit about those cornerbacks.
Yeah, I think the elbow injury could have an effect on this game. Maybe not like Gronk's ankle in the 2011 Super Bowl, but it certainly could have an effect just because the Seahawks don't switch up their defense very often, and when they do, it's usually when they're doing that man press coverage. And if Sherman has an elbow injury, it's not like he's going to jam a guy with one arm. That's not going to be very effective, especially if they put out someone like Brandon LaFell or Rob Gronkowski against him. So it does kind of take one of their tricks out of their sleeve, I guess, that they could utilize in this game. And as far as Revis and Sherman, they are they're different players, but they're both obviously incredibly good. I'm not sure if you can even pick a better player between them, just because Sherman does that. He plays cover 3. He drops back deep a lot of the time. It's not like he's out there playing man every time. He's not following a guy across the field. But when you throw to the left side of the field, he basically does not allow receptions. Whereas Revis is asked to do a lot more. He plays in the slot. He follows around number 1 guys. So he does allow more receptions, more yards, more touchdowns. But he's also playing a much more difficult position just because he's asked to do so many things. So I think that's really the biggest difference between them, to simplify it, is that Sherman might be better at his individual role, but you can do a lot more with Revis on the field. So I don't know if I can even pick a better player between them, because I don't think it would really be fair to either one of them. But they're both exceptional. Those are the number 1 and 2 cornerbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, I think when people speak on that. What's up? Can you hear us?
Do you agree with them?
The crazy thing is that there's like 4 people in this room.
Yeah,
I have absolutely no idea how it's this loud.
That's Super Bowl week. I think this is, people need to talk louder to get their point across.
Go ahead. Are we moving on, or?
Is there anything you want to add to that? I mean,
the only thing I would add is when people speak on the subject, I think the fact that Revis is, as Doug said, is asked to do different things. I think people kind of, when they're asked to make a choice, kind of gravitate toward Revis because of that, and also because of a lot of people just don't like Sherman, his personality and the way he's, he'll say whatever he wants. So, but yeah, I think Doug broke it down pretty much. I don't really know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's easy to go with the guy who has a catchy Revis Island little shtick. I mean, Sherman doesn't really have that, so if you're gonna pick one, it's easy to.
True.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he needs one more marketing opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The guy doesn't get his name out there enough. He's got to come home with a nickname.
Well, Akshay_NFL wants to know if you can ask Belichick if the Pats draft based on handsomeness. So you don't have to do it today, but if you get a chance, just see if looks factor into his drafting process, so we can all.
That'll be my first question tomorrow.
Speaking of which, what was the? Because we already said how media day is just a zoo. What was you guys' impression of this media day? What was the craziest thing you saw? Anything nuts?
You can go first on this.
Anything nuts you saw? I don't know. I kind of, it is a zoo. I kind of like it. I don't know why. Because it's just not a serious day. You're just like, you're walking around and you're trying to, you're working on your stories, but you're running into guys who are dressed as a garbage can or wearing a superhero cape. And I always just think about like serious reporters dressed up like that. If like somebody from like NFL Network was walking around with like a mask or something. But it's a funny day. I guess I didn't really hear any like really outrageous questions except one guy was asking all the players if they thought Katy Perry was a good halftime choice. So I mean that was kind of weird, but there was nothing like last year for York, and I walked over to Julius Thomas's little podium, and somebody asked him who on the Broncos has the hottest wife. So those are the kind of questions you get. And I think it's pretty
important stuff.
Maybe it's because I'm immature, but I kind of laugh at all the whole spectacle.
Yeah, it was my first. It was at the basketball in the football stadium because it was so difficult to move around the room that you couldn't find players, you couldn't find coaches, you couldn't find anyone basically. So it was a complete zoo, probably a huge fire hazard as well.
Oh, enormous fire hazard.
I think the best question of the day was when the guy from Barstool asked Belichick if he could murder someone for him. But
that was definitely the best question.
Yeah. That was probably the best question of the day. But no, it was fun. But I just wish that I could have moved easier because it was pretty frustrating at times.
Yeah.
It's good to move. It's good to move around.
Yeah.
It's a nice
walking
thing.
is good.
Yeah. Now, all right. Before I let you guys go. Because tied up a lot of your time here. I asked you this when we did a podcast a few weeks ago, and basically, if you guys have one X factor or one key to a Patriots win going into this game.
I'm gonna go with Chris White, the special teams linebacker.
I agree.
No.
It's funny how you guys are always on the same page like that.
Yeah, we agree, man. I always agree with Doug.
That's a good question. I might go with Jamie Collins in this game just because Marshawn Lynch and Russell Wilson are going to be so important to the Seahawks' success that I think that Collins is going to be key in not only tracking Wilson, making sure that he doesn't get outside the pocket and loop around the defense, but also he has had some issues with missing tackles this season, so that absolutely cannot happen against Marshawn Lynch. Obviously, he's going to be bouncing enough guys as it is, so the 250-pound linebacker in the middle of the defense sound and play with it himself, then I think the Patriots defense is going to be pretty good in this game.
I'm just going to stick with just the Patriots run. What did you say?
I said Jamie Collins. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go way off mark here, and I'm gonna say Dante Hightower. I'm kidding. I'm gonna just go with the Patriots running game because I think that they want to do what Green Bay and Carolina did, and both those teams played. I mean, Green Bay should have won the game. Carolina actually played Seattle pretty close because they were able to run the ball. So I'll go with the running game and LeGarrette Blount. But you know what? And we talk about this every week. Maybe Jonas Gray actually, gets some carries in this game. you don't know. I mean, maybe it's, I doubt it's Bolden or Vereen, but maybe Jonas Gray kind of gets 8, 10 maybe, and gets things rolling for them. So that would be my X factor, and also my key to the game.
Here we go.
Excellent. Double dipping right there.
Of course.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you taking a break from all the other stuff you got going on out there. There's certainly no shortage of things to do.
Definitely
That's
not.
true.
All right. Well, I'll let you guys go. Everybody, if you want to check out more from these two, you can do so at Nesson.com and MassLive.com. We got Patriots beat writer from Nesson.com, Doug Kyed, and Kevin Duffy, Patriots beat writer from MassLive.com. So we'll let everybody go right now. Get your Super Bowl samplers ready and whatnot. Do what you got to do. Yeah, so take care, everyone, and you guys stay warm out there.
We'll try.
All right. Take it easy, guys.
Yeah.